Welcome back, dear viewers. You're still watching Nile Cruise here on Nile TV. And the celebrations this year for the 98th anniversary of Tutankhamun's tomb discovery is ongoing, dear viewers, and it is to include the launching of the new art exhibitions related to the finding of the famed pharaoh's tomb, as well as folkloric performances all over Luxor's prominent archaeological and historical sites, of which, of course, there are many. So we'll be talking in this segment of Nile Cruise about the 98th anniversary of the discovery of the Tutankhamun tomb. And we are very glad to have with us here on Nile Cruise Dr. Mahmoud Halawagy, the former general manager of the Egyptian Museum, the famous iconic Tahrir Museum. Dr. Halawagy, great pleasure to have you with us. We also have with us Mr. Ahmed Slama, who is a hospitality, tourism and marketing manager. Thank you very much, Mr. Slama, for joining us.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. Very pleased to
Of course,
see
dear guest, it's a pleasure to have you today in
Thank you.
today's episode of Nile Cruise. Dr. Mahmoud Halawagy, can you tell us more about the Tutankhamun's, of course, discovery, and tell us more about what the ongoings of this amazing happening?
In fact, it is a great opportunity to celebrate the discovery of the tomb, of the iconic discovery or iconic tomb of the young pharaoh or the golden pharaoh Tutankhamun, which discovered in 1922, in November 1922, by the British archaeologist Howard Carter, who came to Egypt and was appointed by the authority of Service des Antiquités, the authority of Antiquities of Egypt, as inspector for the West Bank of Thebes, Luxor. And the discovery was he was digging for a king, but he doesn't know who is that king. But one of the accident happened which led him to discover this glorious discovery of the tomb, when a young boy who helps the worker by serving them, by giving them the water, who are working under the sun rays. This boy put his pottery jar on the floor, and then by the time the water revealed the step of a doorway of the tomb, then they called Carter, and he started to clean this step. He found many other steps leading to the entrance of the tomb. Immediately he called Lord Carnarvon, who was financing this discovery. So it was at that time the most impressive and the most astonishing discovery all over the world at that time, and many stories were written and movies about the young boy, the pharaoh, the golden pharaoh Tutankhamun in 1922. So this year the governorate of Luxor is celebrating the 98th anniversary, which is only 2 years before the centenary of this such great discovery all over the world. I think this will be a great opportunity to let the whole world pay attention to the tomb itself and the antiquities of Luxor, as well as inauguration of the Grand Egyptian Museum, while this time is starting moving the collection of Tutankhamun from Tahrir Square to Grand Egyptian Museum, which will inaugurate next year, inshallah. And this tomb, even it is the smallest tomb in the Valley of Kings, and it's almost unfinished tomb, but it houses more than 5,000 object of the belongs to the king himself. I think this is a great opportunity and a nice celebration and a nice event for promoting the tourism to attract more visitors to come to Egypt in this season, inshallah.
Hopefully, sir.
Yes. Yes, Mr. Salama, so in your view, why, what distinguishes this year's anniversary from other years? I mean, the 98th anniversary of the discovery of the Tutankhamun's tomb. What makes it special this year and makes this year's anniversary and exhibitions on hand special compared to prior years?
By the way, this day is the national day of Luxor Governorate. But this year is different because still 2 years to be 100 years of the great discovery, and soon Egypt will display around 5,000 objects from the treasures of King Tut at the Grand Egyptian Museum. So maybe this is a notification to the whole world that Egypt is ready to show you the magic and the treasures of the golden pharaoh at one place or under one roof at the Egyptian Museum, because it was displayed at the Egyptian Museum, but not too much objects. Not this is the first time to display 5,000 at once. So everyone is keen to come to Egypt and visit and see the gold and see the treasures and see the wonderful and amazing objects and artifacts for something cannot believe. It's really amazing. Yeah. So this is very important because of this, and at the same time, Italy offered a special coffin display for the young king at the Grand Egyptian Museum. This will be another addition to the display of King Tut. At the same time, we start now, as of the 1st of November, the winter season. So they would like to push the winter season in Luxor, the Nile cruise and Luxor and Aswan culture. So this is very important at this time exactly.
Okay, back again to Dr. Mahmoud Al-Halawagy. Of course, the Ministry of Tourism and Antiquities, the minister, Khalid Al-Anani, said 70 museums have been inaugurated or developed throughout the past 6 years. How do you evaluate the effort of the Ministry of Antiquities, sir?
In fact, the Ministry of Antiquities and Tourism is exerting their utmost through this time to develop and inaugurate new museums and to develop the existing museums. Will of course will serve and help improving and developing the tourism coming to Egypt. Within 4 years, almost inaugurated more than 17 museums. For example, the Museum of Armenia, Museum of Suez, Museum of Luxor improvement. Aswan is under renovation and development. Recently, Museum of Kafr Sheikh and museum of Sharm Sheikh
Mm.
and museum of Hurghada, recently inaugurated. So this shows how the Ministry of Antiquities and Tourism is working hard to serve and helping tourism coming to Egypt, not only by opening a new museum and developing the existing museums, but also integrating new hotels, airports, also developing the archaeological sites in Cairo, in Saqqara, in Luxor, in Aswan, in Alexandria. They are working so hard and they are doing their utmost, and this inshallah will help for the coming season of tourism to attract more visitors to come to Egypt. I think coming to Egypt is a dream of any citizen all over the world. Children, when they are young at school, anywhere all over the world, they study and they learn about ancient Egyptian civilization, ancient Egyptian history, one of the oldest and the greatest civilization all over the world. This makes these young children, when they grow up, they are willing and dreaming to visit Egypt and to come to Egypt, not only for, for cultural tourism, but also for other kind of tourism, because Egypt has many other kinds of tourism beside cultural tourism.
Absolutely. And to add to what you're saying, Dr. Halwagi, um, Egypt is also seeking to give cultural tourism to beach seekers. And we're seeing that in the Hurghada or in the Sharm el-Sheikh museum that you mentioned. And so I want to ask you, Mr. Salema, what do you think of the idea of trying to get the beach seekers going to Sharm el-Sheikh to see the King Tutankhamun treasures?
One of the most reasons they are in Egypt.
Mm.
So easy. Egypt, the land of the history and civilization. Egypt has many discoveries, and we
Mm.
see from time to time big discoveries.
Mm.
We have many museums everywhere in Egypt. We have many stores full of antiquities. So this store, we will take antiquities from it and show everyone everywhere in Egypt to cover all places, to show the tourists that we have antiquities everywhere. It's a museum, but it show everyone that Egypt has civilization and history, and at the same time advertisement for Luxor, Cairo, Giza,
Mm.
Aswan, Menia, because everywhere we have archaeology in Egypt. So Hurghada and Sharm el-Sheikh is nearly far from Cairo, Giza, Luxor, but they can go for one day or overday or overnight, but not everyone is able to do that. So to take an idea about the Egyptian history, for example, the Museum of Hurghada, more than 1,000 pieces, I think, covering many eras of the Egyptian history. So tourists can take a good idea about the Egyptian history. So they will think many times to visit the pyramids, to visit Luxor, to visit the Egyptian Museum. And recently, the Museum of Sharm el-Sheikh is a very good, as Egypt has many places, and it's wide, not a small country. So when you come to relax, to relax and to enjoy the sun and the sea, at the same time, in 2 3 hours or just a tour, you can see the history of Egypt. So you can cover the utmost of Egypt at one time. So this is very good idea for sure.
Dr. Halawagy, tourism is a key pillar of our country's economy, of course. What are the procedures needed to be adopted to recover this industry, sir?
What are?
The procedures needed to encourage this industry here in Cairo and recover it again in Egypt.
As I said before, the Ministry of Tourism and Antiquities are improving and developing archaeological sites, museums, integrating new museums, new hotels, airports to receive many visitors. Also encouraging visitors who are coming to Hurghada and Sharm el-Sheikh just for fun and entertainment to have a little bit about Egypt, to have a cultural visits to these museums, to see one of the great civilizations all over the world, to learn about ancient Egypt. For example, in Sharm el-Sheikh Museum, the visitor will be able to see the daily life of ancient Egypt and sacred animals and mummified animals, some mummies, and they learn about mummification process. Also the sports in ancient Egypt, to let the whole world know that sports started in Egypt, not in Athens, as all of the world think that Athens is the first place where started Olympic Games, but also Egypt started sports more than
Yes.
7,000 years before Christ. So this one of the targets, as well as inaugurating regional museums to serve tourism, as well as to increase the awareness of the national citizens about their civilization,
Yes.
their country, their history, their heritage. For example, Kafr Sheikh Museum expose history of the Kafr Sheikh and its history, like through ages, and how the area of Kafr Sheikh played a role in civilization of ancient Egypt through Pharaonic era and Greco-Roman era
Yeah.
and Islamic era,
Yeah.
even recent time.
Yeah.
We know like Kafr Sheikh is well known and famous of Islamic houses, mosques, and some other architecture, Islamic architecture. So this is one of the things which to attract the national citizens and to learn about Egypt and their governorate, as well as other museums. Procedures are and measurements are taken to improve the performance of these tourism buildings and archaeological sites and museums. This is taken by Ministry of Tourism and Antiquities. I think they are taking a great important and attention to serve this to help tourism to Egypt, coming to Egypt.
Absolutely. Now, Mr. Salema, how do you think we're faring amidst the COVID-19? I mean, COVID-19 is posing challenges to the tourism industry. and now that there is what looks like a second wave in Europe and the US, I mean, yes, the region is at a much better situation here. I mean, the Middle East. But how do you think we're faring, and what do you think we need to do in order to keep the pace going up instead of being brought back again?
Many things can do at this difficult time. We have a good crisis management team in Egypt at the moment. Every time, Minister of Tourism and Antiquities with Minister of Information talking about the situation frankly. We have to prepare ourselves for the next time because this time is really difficult. Many countries closed the airports and canceled all flights to all destinations.
So what
in the
are
world.
you doing? Sorry to interrupt. And your
Yes,
beautiful
the
page, the wonderful
this
Egypt page,
wonderful Egypt
Thank you.
page. Yeah.
to help us cope with COVID-19.
Actually, safety first. Safety first is known everywhere in the world. So we have to show everyone in the world that Egypt has or applying the safety rules according to World Tourism Organization.
And this is demonstrated in your page, the wonderful Egypt
Yes,
page.
yes. From
Yes.
time to time, I posted one
what
video.
was the goal, Mr. Ahmed Salama, beyond you creating this wonderful page?
Many goals at
What
the
are
same
their
time.
goals, please?
One of the most goals when from my experience in the hotels and tourism, something very important and vital is reputation management. So how do you show your property to everyone in the world that you have a good reputation? So this will market your property and attract more customers to you. So my career is tourism and hotels, and I have some knowledge about Egypt, and my passion to Egypt is very high. So I decided to create this page to show some vision or point of view regarding the beauty of Egypt, to help attracting more visitors or tourists to Egypt, to show the beauty and the value of our destinations.
It's a wonderful
Yes,
idea that,
Thank
you,
you so
that,
much.
Ahmed, I just want to
that
ask
you've
Mr.
made us the
Sorry.
wonderful Egypt page.
Yes.
Yeah.
Appreciate.
How
Thank
many
you very
followers
much.
do you have on this page, and how do you interact with the audience in the page, sir?
At the moment, 600,000, 60.
Wonderful.
Wonderful.
Thank you so much. I reply to messages. I reply to
You do all
Uh,
alone? You don't have any assistant?
alone, because
We're
I
getting close
apply.
to a million now. That's
yeah.
wonderful.
I hope so.
Hope
Yeah.
so. You're gonna
Inshallah.
have
And I'm sorry, Rana, I know we're out of time, but we can't have Dr. Halawagy here not ask him about something very specific. The latest about the gem, and when will we have the Tahrir museum, the iconic museum that you chair, that you
he was the former
yeah.
president.
Direct.
that you directed for so many years back again for all of us.
Inaugurated? You
Yeah.
mean? Oh,
Of course, the Grand Egyptian Museum
2021.
will, inshallah, be inaugurated 2021.
Yes.
It
The
was,
end of 2021, supposedly.
inshallah. It will be a wonderful museum. It will be worldwide, international, almost for the whole world, and it will be a good celebration.
It was due to be inaugurated in this year,
and
the
October of
October
2020,
celebrations,
but
yeah.
due to
Because
the,
of
the
the
COVID-19, it
COVID-19,
was
yeah.
Yes.
postponed to next year.
Yes.
And we are supposed to make a wonderful celebration
Right.
where rulers all over the world and presidents from all over the world will be attending the opening,
Exactly.
the inauguration with President Abdel Fattah
And-
al-Sisi.
And opera of young pharaoh, the gold pharaoh Tutankhamun, will be played on during the inauguration.
Hopefully, sir.
This some people asks about the future of the iconic museum
Tahrir.
Tahrir Square, which is the first museum established all over the world to be as a museum, which inaugurated in 1902 during the era of Abbas Helmi II, which used to house more than 160,000 of real artifacts of belonging to a one civilization, ancient Egyptian civilization. this iconic museum. Of course, high percent of the stored objects, because 40% was on display and 60% was on storage. So all storage rooms will be transferred to new museums like Grand Egyptian Museum and Civilization Nemec Museum and regional museums. And the future of the museum, that it will be the museum of the history of art of ancient Egypt. Masterpieces of Egyptian art will stay in the museum of Tahrir Square.
Good.
And masterpieces of art and mummies will go to Nemec, and Tutankhamun completely will transfer to Grand Egyptian Museum. Only masterpieces like King Djoser, the builder of Steep Pyramid, King Cheops, the only statue we discovered for such great King Cheops, who built one of the wonders of ancient Egypt, the Great Pyramid, statue of 7 centimeters made of ivory, will stay. Statues of great pharaohs like Cheops, Mykerinus, and Khafra, many other statues of other pharaohs, masterpieces will stay in Egypt, because many of Egyptians were afraid that the Museum of Cairo of Tahrir Square will be empty after inaugurating such great museums. But I would like to say that the museum will stay and will remain, will be iconic as it is forever, inshallah.
Of course, Dr. Mahmoud Halawagy, former manager of the Egyptian Museum in Tahrir, and Mr. Ahmed Slama, hospitality and tourism manager, and the founder of This is Wonderful Egypt page. Thank you so much for joining us in this segment of Nile Cruise, and we were delighted to have you, of course, today. Dear viewers, this is this edition of, or this segment of Nile Cruise. Stay with us. We still have more for you. Don't go away. We'll be back again.